The content on this channel is for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing we say or do should be considered advice. No tax, legal, accounting, investment, or any other kind of advice. Anything you invest in is at your own risk. Do your own research and consult with professionals.
All right, I've now got a couple of my friends on the line here. Very excited to talk to these two. One of them you might be familiar with, another is a super shadowy anon. We're going to see if we can try and suss out where he is, what he's doing with his life. We got my friend Grover on the line from formerly known as Retrograde. We've also got Deadpool here. These guys are the co-founders of Vortex. So before we go any further, people are like, wait, what's going on? Grover, Retrograde, Vortex. I need some clarity here, some context. What is Vortex? What does it have to do with Retrograde? Grover, tell us what's going on here.
Sure, yeah. Hi once again. It's good to be back. It's good to be still building in crypto and still fighting against the red candles. So, yeah, a bit of context. So I was working for Retrograde, sort of leading out the growth side, and if you don't recall, that was sort of a convex protocol built on top of Astroport. We got, I think, in 3 months we moved up to sort of 50 mil TVL, and we were just on the brink of launching when everything kind of came crashing down. I won't go back through that too much. I don't think anyone wants to hear that again. So moving from there, we were looking out into the cosmos and saying, okay, and beyond, to be honest, what do we want to build next? What makes sense? Where is the product market fit? And something that was really glaringly obvious to us is that there's no good Perps protocol right now on Cosmos that's got user base and volume. So we were thinking this is a good place to start. There are a bunch of other protocols we considered as well. We thought about lending, we thought about decentralized front ends, we thought about just a whole variety of stuff. And there was a good conversation in our Discord. So I want to say thanks to our community there for their contributions. So yeah, we were looking at this and we had a few mutual connects with Say, who they've been building out a blockchain for about the last year or so, and they're getting some really, really impressive results, really pushing Tendermint, pushing everything Cosmos to the absolute limits. And we thought, well, this is a good place to start. So speaking to the guys there, we got introduced to the existing Vortex team, and the guys there were already building out a Perps protocol. They got some really good in-depth knowledge of the market, really in-depth knowledge of all the technical side, and really understand how to build a Perps protocol from the financial point of view. So we said, look, we can bring developer resources, we can bring go-to-market, we can bring all that good stuff that helped us get the connections, that helped us get to where we were on Retrograde, and we can add that to the mix. So maybe I'll let Deadpool say hello as well.
Yeah, sure. Hi. First of all, nice to be here. I'm going to give a little bit of introduction about myself. My background is in traditional finance. I worked at a matching broker, liquidity provider in the Forex sector. And yes, we dealt with gold, a bunch of commodities and Forex, and we obviously did both derivatives and spots. I got into crypto around 2020, DeFi summer, started playing around a bunch of DeFi protocols, a lot of different ecosystem. Got into Cosmos around 2021, specifically Terra, and that's how I got to know the Retro team and a bunch of cool teams. Very interesting folks building in the Terra ecosystem. Then obviously everybody knows what happened. Beginning of this year, started thinking about founding my own protocol. Obviously, it was a no-brainer for me to start with derivatives. The product market fit is there. Demand for derivatives is there. Digital assets, there's an 80% volume traded of derivatives with respect to spot for Bitcoin, and there's no real derivative platform on chain to actually trade on. So we kind of solved all of the different problems that we think derivative exchanges have right now in order to build the best product and the best derivative exchange on chain as of now. And I'm pretty confident our devs are doing a great job with this. Probably we're going to go a little bit more in depth during this call. And yeah, thanks again for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a pretty exciting project where you guys have found your fit here. You mentioned 80% to 20 derivatives traded over spot on Bitcoin. That's massive. And I think we saw even after the Terra crash, a lot of these centralized exchanges had issues. We saw Celsius. We saw a couple of the others. I can't even remember it. I try and block it out of my memory at this point. But there was a lot of fear and panic in the streets over, not your keys, not your crypto. We kind of have to relearn that lesson the hard way every couple of years whenever these exchanges, they either just go insolvent or make bad, financial decisions or whatever. And so, even KuCoin, which I'm a huge fan of KuCoin. I wear the shirt on the show sometimes. I've friends that work at KuCoin. I'm a user of KuCoin because I love like the interface and the way it works. But there was fear, and there, it's warranted that maybe they're insolvent, because at the end of the day, you make a deposit on one of these centralized exchanges, and then you're not sure if you're just trading numbers on their screen or if that's really your assets that you're using. And so decentralized perps, which are a lot more fun to trade than just spot, right? We've got some pretty decent, robust spot markets. Everybody knows about osmosis over in the Cosmos world, but there's no leverage trading. There's no futures. There's no way to be a total degen like we all like to do sometimes. So this excited me a lot whenever you brought up Vortex to me as sort of a solution and a safe solution where I can custody my own assets. Can you talk a little bit about Vortex at a high level, and just the difference maybe for people that aren't familiar or don't know what we're talking about? What is the difference between using a platform like Vortex compared to going on a centralized exchange like KuCoin and cranking up the leverage over there on their platform?
Yeah. I think just on to expand on that point, I think it's a really good point. Why are we, centralized exchanges, opaque practices? You don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. It's kind of counter everything that DeFi is supposed to be, and transparency and accountability, and you know exactly what's happening. So why are we still using centralized exchanges? Even the most devout DeFi users will go and they'll say, well, look, this is the best place for me to open up a perps position and to trade, to go long or short. And we think that that's nuts. Obviously DeFi is not doing its job if that's the case. So this is a problem we think is really worth solving. Maybe Deadpool might want to expand a little bit on that point as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with everything Evan said. Absolutely, we really believe in the permissionless and trustless nature of DeFi, and the fact that it's the only real way to empower retail end users to have access to these kind of financial applications. And I just wanted to justify the fact that it's really straightforward. The reason why the majority of volume in crypto is actually related to derivatives and futures in particular, and the reason why is that because they're just a superior way to getting price exposure to assets. So you can either long or short. It's very capital efficient because you don't need all of the capital up front. You can use leverage. It's easier for custody solutions, and a bunch of different reasons. And I think another statistics that we haven't touched upon yet, and I think it's the most astonishing one, is the fact that market penetration in DeFi with respect to centralized exchanges is just below 2%. For derivative tradings against the 10% for spot dexes. So we have a 5x jump from here only to get to the same market share that spot exchanges have, DeFi respect to CeFi. So I think that's a great growth opportunity here. Obviously the product is superior, so we have product market fit. We just have to solve a couple of problems, and we're going to get there. I'm confident we're going to get there.
Yeah. I mean, so the fundamental difference here, just to answer your question, Evan, is that you custody your own assets. So there's a smart contract which you deposit USDC into, or other whitelisted stablecoins as we move forwards. Hopefully there's a Cosmos native stablecoin we can look to use, whether that's USDC or not. Then it's all permissionless, trustless. It's the counter of like you were sort of alluding to earlier on with centralized exchanges, where you're not even really sure what it is that you're trading sometimes. How they're computing things behind the scenes. You obviously see something up on the screen, but you may not necessarily be moving assets. They may settle that much later on. So it's kind of the counter to the DeFi dream, I guess.
Right, absolutely. And something I've just a small example of why someone might be interested in derivatives or futures or even using leverage, because I know most people out there, they say you should stay away from leverage. I don't know if this is a real quote or not, but someone said Warren Buffett said there's 3 things that'll kill a man. It's liquor, ladies, and leverage. I don't know if Warren Buffett actually said that, but it's a wise quote nonetheless. But just a small example that I've used in the past for people for why you might be interested in a leverage trade is if you sell a position, let's just say you sell 5 shares of Bitcoin. Let's say you're balling out, you sell 5 Bitcoin, you take your percentage of that, whatever you take on spot. Then you can do something which I call it's called like the FOMO killer, because say you sell that spot and then all of a sudden Bitcoin jumps 20%, or you miss the bull run, you can then just take 1 Bitcoin and you can 5x leverage long from there. So you've hedged almost like a delta neutral position, so that if the price continues to climb from there, you still technically have price exposure to the same position as you would if you kept those 5 Bitcoin. However, you just put 4 Bitcoin in the bank in your pocket. So just small examples that you can do. It's not all like degen trading. And there's people out there with bigger brains that are better at math than I am, that would take advantage of this. And it's good to know that you have that that peace of mind, at least, that these are your assets that you're using. So I do want to talk a little bit. I'm going to keep bringing up maybe some competitors so you guys can compare yourselves here. One of the other big ones that I've been using lately is GMX, and they're over on Arbitrum, and I think they do a pretty good job with USDC as sort of their base stable coin as well. And on GMX, for those that are unfamiliar, whenever you make a trade on GMX, you're actually trading against the other users that are providing the liquidity. So if a trader comes in and they're losing, which most traders unfortunately do, but not unfortunate for the people that are LPing in the protocol itself, the pool actually grows and you earn some money as just an investor in the protocol itself. Does Vortex work similar to that, or is there some other nuance, or can you explain kind of like the mechanism behind how the orders and the trading work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I just wanted to add also a little bit on what you said earlier. Like, absolutely, a lot of things that you can do with Perps. It's not only speculations. There's also hedging positions. We're also kind of working on many different ways in which LPs, also for example on Osmosis and other exchanges within the Cosmos, can hedge on their position by dynamically using Vortex. So there's a bunch of different use cases for this kind of product, and this is something I wanted to touch upon. Other than this, regarding GMX, so Vortex is structurally different from what GMX does. And the reason why it's mainly the way we source our liquidity. We have an order book as a matching engine. GMX, as you mentioned, has this GLP pool in which traders can trade against a pool of assets. Pretty much, it's pretty different, but it's kind of how an AMM like Uniswap works. And the reason why we think that the order book is superior is that basically the reason because AMM lived in the first place is because order book could not be built on chain. Scalability issues, block wars, high fees. That's kind of the reason why you couldn't build. Some tier twos also are actually pretty slow right now. And that's kind of the reason why AMM were built. And all of the different iteration of AMMs from Uniswap when it first launched until now, and all of the different upgrades are just tweaks that literally bring IMM features closer to central limit order books, which are a program that is battle tested at scale from TradFi, centralized exchanges. We have seen this with UIDX, which is the only Perp exchange which actually arrived at a kind of scale that could be compared to centralized exchanges. So we really believe that the order book model is the actual premier model to trade derivatives on chain in terms of scalability. And I could give a simple practical reason for this. You mentioned the GLP pool. Open interest on GMX, as you said, you trade against the GLP pool. So open interest on GMX is capped to the amount of assets that are within the GLP pool. So you want LPs to get a position in GLP in order for traders to trade on the platform. However, GLP is a gives directional long exposure for traders, which is suboptimal in certain markets, especially bear markets. And that's something that kind of like puts into question the real scalability of GMX as a protocol. And we really believe that the only model that has been battle tested at scale and that can support this kind of technology and trading is the order book model. And then Say Network is the blockchain that enables all of this. We have the fastest block time in the Cosmos, so very low latency, very high throughputs, and we managed to build a superior product in that sense.
Yeah, it's worth saying that Say is where we're launching now, but our vision is to be the largest Perps exchange on Cosmos. So we're absolutely looking to launch other chains as well later on, sort of once we've proven this MVP, and expanding from there. It's kind of wherever it makes sense to launch, we'll launch.
Yeah, it's funny what you said, Deadpool. It's like whenever LPs first came out as a way to trade, it was this crazy revolutionary thing, and it took me so long to figure out what the difference was because I was so used to like order book trading, and I was like, wait a minute, how does this work? And I like read this article like 15 times and finally wrapped my brain around it. And then people started talking about like I forget what it's called, like concentrated liquidity and how to set limit orders and things. And I was like, man, it's like a horseshoe. Like we're going back to the order book style, but it's still like with this decentralized model. So it's interesting that the liquidity pools were such a revolutionary tech because it removes the need for centralized entities, I guess, to become like your market makers or whatever. But it's still like the tech is still kind of going back towards that like ease of use and convenience. And it seems like I don't know much about it, I'll admit, but Grover, you got into it a little bit there. They've built something that's pretty spectacular and it kind of allows you guys to build Vortex on top of it. Can you dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah,
Either of
sure.
you, feel
So,
free to answer.
yeah, yeah. So, so Say has got a few really interesting sort of chain level optimizations that they've employed specifically to make it a DeFi chain and to sort of facilitate trading. So, one of those, I mean, there's no MEV prevention. So, this batch ordering system, which means that you can't get front run or back run sandwich attacked, which makes it a less hostile place to trade. Time to finality, so that the actual block times themselves at the moment in testnet are sub 1 second, and they're telling me they're going to get faster when they get to mainnet, which is great. So we'll see where they land. It's sort of blowing away the competition on that front right now. And there's pay gas of any token. So really, this kind of like the chain is purpose built for this kind of application for perps trading for spot. One really interesting thing here is that because the order book is built into the actual chain itself, every single protocol that builds on top of, rather than having separate spot markets or liquidity pools, it's just one spot market for every single protocol that's built on top, if that makes sense. So it means you don't have to come and provide your own liquidity necessarily. It means you don't have to get your own market makers. It means it's all shared. So you can place a trade on one app and fill it on another because it's just using that order sort of matching engine, which is really cool. So it's going to open up some really nice strategies and opportunities. Sort of like this is kind of a new space, really. That's the way we're seeing it. It's a new kind of space for builders to come and see what we can do, really.
Yeah, I think this is super cool. Like I said at the top of the interview here, you guys are kind of like in the right space. I think the whole of DeFi is going in this direction. Well, no, the whole of crypto and Web3, I think, is going in this direction. Hopefully, the good guys are. We'll put it that way. I do want to talk. You mentioned that you can pay gas with any token. What can we expect to see traded on top of Vortex? Most people I think are trading for perps. Probably Bitcoin and Ethereum are usually 1 and 2. What assets do we expect to see on Vortex whenever you guys launch?
Oh, yeah, I can cover this. So right now, by the way, we're live on Testnet. We're currently supporting Atom as an asset. So I would say in general, CW20 tokens and everything that is IBC compatible. Say recently closed a partnership with Axelar Bridge, which it's obviously pretty interesting on our end. This means that we're going to be able to support different assets from EVM blockchains, such as wrapped Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever. And we are also planning on a roadmap to support synthetic assets in the future. So that's also kind of like a big deal for us. We think that, in order to achieve mass adoption for DeFi, we also have to put our foots a little bit in what TradFi is. And so we're going to have to support something like commodities, Forex, et cetera, et cetera. So that's obviously in the roadmap.
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. You guys didn't tell me about this synthetic
right.
plan before we started talking.
So that's definitely on the roadmap. So I really want. I mean, there's sort of a chain native oracle, which we can use. Well, a synthetics protocol can use to price all kinds of really interesting and fun things like uranium or whatever. Just like commodities trading sort of opened up, which the end result here is that will be able to provide like an equal trading experience that you get pretty much anywhere else. And in terms of the variety of assets, we have to be a little bit careful about what we take on. They can't be like too reflexive. We can also think of a couple of tokens that are a little bit too reflexive in the last few months, and they have to. There's a sort of a risk assessment there, but for the most part, yeah, we want to include and support a wide variety of assets which may not be available to trade on chain or on Cosmos right now.
That's awesome. You guys have me super excited. I'm rubbing my hands over here with the thought of being able to trade all my commodities and equities and futures and crypto degen shit all on one platform. That sounds pretty great. I want to bring up one other potential competitor of yours. We saw DYDX make an announcement. It was a couple months now ago that they were moving to Cosmos. I think they're going to have their own chain. I don't know many details about it, to be frank. What do you guys think about that? And then what do you think separates Vortex from a competitor that, frankly, has been sort of the leader as far as DeFi and decentralized perp trading for the past year or so?
Yeah. When I first heard that it's happening, Deadpool will chime in here too. We're both pretty excited about it because I was like, this is fantastic. This is really, really good for Cosmos. They're going to bring across a whole load of users, a whole load of liquidity, and it's really sort of validates this app chain thesis. If one of the top protocols on Ethereum, on Starknet, wherever they were at the time, say, you know what, this isn't working for us, we're going to go to Cosmos. That's such an important vote of confidence in Cosmos, and we're pretty excited about it. There's a few differences between DYDX chain and Vortex built on top of Say. I think that saying that sentence is one of the main reasons. One of the main differences is that DYDX sort of keep control of the whole vertical stack. They don't let other teams necessarily come in and help out or build things on top, whereas Say is a bit more sort of open and encouraging other founders to come in and build. So there's a whole lot of comparisons you can make there, sort of like a app store versus I don't know, Android sort of approach, lockdown versus open to other teams to come and build. Maybe that's not the perfect example, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add on this. We are really going to focus a lot on composability, and this is something that obviously building on Say, it's easier. There's a lot of teams coming over. We're not going to be shy at all in terms of exotic product. So I mentioned earlier hedging strategies, et cetera, et cetera. This require a little bit of R&D on new product, and we're going to have a lot of differentiators on that end. And I think a third thing I wanted to touch upon, we kind of we don't really agree to a certain extent on the way DYDX sources its liquidity, which is at the end of the day pretty centralized. They rely on very big market makers, institutional market makers. They actually have legal contracts with these market makers in order to provide liquidity on their platform. And we are going to have a way, an automated way of, let's say, decentralizing our liquidity sourcing and making our protocol more resilient to. That's definitely another different point.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, that's something that I mentioned earlier was like when liquidity pools were first invented, that was like such a revolutionary thing because you didn't need to have this like legal contract with some market maker to come in and bring the liquidity and, take their little piece off the top. It was actually like a free market solution. So it sounds like you guys are kind of leaning into that ethos a bit. One other thing I did want to bring up, well, let's talk about Testnet, because you guys did mention that earlier as well. Live on Testnet, is there an incentivized Testnet running right now? Is there something that people can do to get involved with Vortex with the way it stands now?
Yeah. So Say have been running their incentivized testnet for a little while on their decentralized. That's the last thing I want to say about DYDX. It's a centralized order matching engine, but just that, no more shots for me. They've been running their testnet for a little while, and Act 2 includes Vortex, which is great. So just sort of testing out some simple things like making a trade, depositing collateral, withdrawing collateral, and you can find all this information if you go to the Vortex Twitter page or to the Say. We just piggybacked on the Say Discord for a little bit there, and you can find all the information about how to get involved and incentivized. So there's there's an airdrop at the end, and Say have actually put up 1% of their total token supply, which is
Wow.
quite a bit for a test net. So yeah, it's pretty worthwhile. Yeah, we're also at Vortex rolling out sort of a V2, I guess, of the testnet for Vortex. So up till now, it's been quite a simple interface. You can sort of place orders. It's just testing a few very basic functions, but we're going to improve that UI and make things a bit more fun. So watch out for the next week or so. We're going to release a funny money rather than using testing the bridge, the Axelar bridge, and using Axelar USDC. We're just going to have like a funny money stablecoin, and you can get $1 million from the faucet and come and participate. And we'll run a couple of trading competitions and things like that just on testnet. So yeah, definitely come and get involved. And
let me make sure I understand you correctly here. What you're saying is, I as a user can come in, print some fake monopoly money, make some trades. They're not real. It's not real money. And if I potentially win one of these trading competitions, I could be entitled to a piece of the airdrop that Say is giving to Vortex users, which is 1% of their total supply. You just said, right? I heard that correctly.
so yeah, the 1% is going to a variety of people. So it's going to validators as well as people who come and test Vortex in this phase one. We will also have a Vortex airdrop. So there's a bit of airdrop mania going on here, and I encourage people to come and get
And
involved.
when does the trading competitions open up?
Well, I'll announce. We're expecting to have like the funny money sort of set up in the next week or so, and then we'll make an announcement about how it's going to work. I would say mid next week. So what's that? That's the where's my calendar? 31st, Wednesday 31st. Around then, we should be able to release the recipe list of how you get involved and how to post your wins or your losses. Because I want to encourage big losses as well as big wins with the fake money. So.
Loss porn, they call it in the trading world. Well, that is one of the things that I think has helped like trading platforms grow in popularity is the ability to share your position. People like to laugh at everybody that's sharing a loss, or they like to flex with their 10%, 20% wins. And those are definitely awesome features that you see on some of these trading platforms. One of the ones that I mentioned in a call with you guys before was, I love when I can open a position and I can see my liquidation line and I can see like my open line and watch the live line usually slowly crawl towards my liquidation line as my panic and heart rate starts to go up and my stress levels go through the roof, and Steph sits in the studio and laughs at me. Do you guys have a demo or something we can see on this call? I don't remember if we discussed doing that. If not, no worries, but I'd love to see if maybe we can just get a glimpse of what the platform looks like.
Yeah, we have an MVP and a proof of concept that is right now live on Testnet, and you can come over, trade, set limit orders, market orders. The only market that is supported by now is Atom. This is probably going to change by the time this recording comes up. And you're able to deposit fake money, AUSDC, place trades with leverage. Right now, leverage is up to 4x. We're going to probably increase it to 10x to test our liquidation engine. As you can see, everything here is still a little bit illiquid. This is obviously the testnet phase. We're going to have a V2 soft launch of this UI in the coming weeks, and we're going to roll over also trading competitions, and we are going to allocate a bunch of the 1% Say tokens from the incentivized testnet to traders that actually engage in these competitions. So yeah, come over, have a look, test, try to break it, try to get liquidated, and I think it's pretty fun using fake money and getting wrecked on Vortex protocol. I've done it myself, so.
Yeah, there's a good lesson on the screen right now, which is in an illiquid market, if you place a massive buy order relative to the book, you're going to have a huge scam wick. So there's a beautiful example of what to do, what not to do there, and I think it's good experience, so everybody can practice with trading with size before one day we all get to trade with real size. So yeah.
Yeah, everybody gets $1 million of monopoly money. All of a sudden, you've got whales acting like total degens. It's going to be quite the sight to see.
Yeah, it's a good experience. It's like, oh wait, no, you know what? I can't just sell my whole position in one go. That's a horrible idea. So, better to learn that lesson on testnet than on mainnet, right?
Right.
Yeah, but obviously
Exactly.
it's gonna start getting. Oh, sorry, man.
Go ahead, Deadpool.
Oh no, I just wanted to say it's gonna start getting more exciting as soon as we roll out the six-figure accounts on Testnet wallets, and up to 10x leverage, maybe 20x leverage. It's gonna get funnier from here. By now we only have an MVP and a proof of concept over here, so we're gonna make a lot of announcements as soon as V2 rolls out in the coming weeks.
So I do have a question here regarding, I guess, testnet, and then eventually, when the real deal happens, you see GMX. One of their biggest selling points is that there aren't scam wicks because they're getting price quotes from Oracle feeds. Is that going to work similar to you guys, or if some degen comes in and dumps 25x leverage $1 million trade, are they going to be able to liquidate everybody? With some quick like liquidity hits there.
So I can cover this. Our model is significantly different with respect to how GMX handles pricing. So we obviously are going to have our path-independent pricing on Vortex protocol, and it's going to be adjusted by funding rates that are going to push the price towards our Oracle price. The Oracle is actually built on the order book on chain, so it's much more secure and decentralized than other oracles out there. So that's definitely a security point. I think at the end of the day, this scam wick that you talked about, the 25x leverage, so the security issues all boil down to liquidity, and that's something that we're seriously working on. We are obviously in talk with big market makers, both in TradFi and in DeFi, in order to have liquidity from day one. And we're also planning on this roadmap towards decentralization of liquidity in order to have the deepest liquidity on our order book and the best pricing, so the best security overall, in a decentralized manner. So that's kind of like our whole focus over here, which at the end of the day is just a focus on security and efficiency.
Right. And at the end of the day, it's not like a centralized exchange where you're not sure if that trade that just liquidated you is even real. I think there's a famous Arthur Hayes meme out there where he says, liquidate them. I need another Ferrari or something. I don't know if he actually said that or not, but good to see that, everything's happening on chain over at Vortex. Well, whenever you guys launch this thing, please make sure I'm aware and I'm tagged. I'll gladly participate in the trading competition. I'll probably win the trading competition, and I'm looking forward to getting some of those early Vortex airdrops and some of the Say airdrops too. I think this sounds awesome. I think you guys are in a perfect spot. Like I said, this is very exciting. DeFi winter, crypto winter, whatever you want to call it. It's a good time when the best builders, the cream rises to the top, and they build some cool shit. Is there anything else that we haven't covered here today that you guys want to talk about before we wrap up?
From me, it's just, stay tuned, keep following the Twitter, join the Discord. We repurposed the retrograde Discord as the Vortex Discord, so nobody gets left behind. And when I should probably mention that one more time, that everybody who participated in retrograde phase 1 and 2, we've snapshotted those wallets. We're going to end up linking that back to a Say network address, for your Terra address to a Say address, and then we know who you are, and we can include you in that airdrop when it happens.
Maybe I would just on my end say props to the amazing community that has been built around Vortex, and obviously the retrograde community after this merger. I've been impressed. Obviously, coming from a TradFi background, I'm not that used to this kind of heat. A lot of community members started pushing out content on Twitter, actually also on GitHub and different platforms regarding Vortex, and I've been very impressed by the how would you say, the excitement of the community overall. So props to everybody on the Vortex retro community.
Yeah, we've still got a lot of lunatics here, sticking around and wiser for it. And I think one of the questions I've been asked in sort of a lunatic centric AMA was, if I'm not really a trader, what's in it for me? Why should I be excited about this? And I think it's going to be these strategies built on top of Vortex and sort of vaults that get enabled and ideas that get enabled by Vortex, where you can, if you want to, come and deposit some money and earn passive income. And that's there's something here for everyone, not just degen traders, but degen trading is also equally quite fun. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I know we have a lot of lunatics that watch this show. A lot of people that are hunting for those diamonds in the rough. And I think one of the things about Luna and the Terra community in version 1, and I think what will eventually come out in version 2 was just the ease of use and the ethos that, no matter where you are in the world, you can use this. With especially given with synthetics, we won't say that too loud, but it's cool to find things like this. I think this is a diamond in the rough, and eventually it's going to sparkle, and I'm going to be excited that you guys are my friends and you gave me the opportunity to ask you some early on questions about it. So I appreciate you guys coming on the show. Again, if you guys want to check it out, where should they go to follow along on the Vortex Twitter?
Best place to start, Vortex Twitter, which should be at Vortex Protocol, and from there there's a link tree to find everything else. So yeah, that's it.
Excellent. All right, well, head on over to Vortex Protocol at VORTEX. Not to be confused with Vertex, Vortex, and you'll be able to participate. Get yourself some Monopoly money. Take a screenshot of it, send it to that girl you've been chatting with on Tinder. Maybe she'll take you out on a date or something nice. And then we're going to participate in that trading competition, and maybe I'll do some live updates on the show on how I'm doing in the trading competition. People might enjoy that. Gentlemen, awesome. I appreciate it. Deadpool, Grover, you guys are legends in the game, and I'm excited to see what happens from this. And that's it. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.